It's been a busy week for Nebraska football. Matt Rhule lands 5 transfers in the transfer portal, and now he's tasked with a question: where do we go from here? So in this video, I'm going to break down the next step for the Huskers and what they need to do in order to be successful in 2024 and beyond. So real quick, if you like the content, please hit like button on this video. It really helps me out, along with subscribing to the channel. We've had 25 straight days of Husker football content, and we're just getting started, folks. So if you don't want to miss out on anything left this offseason, please hit that subscribe button. But let's get into Nebraska football and what they need to do in the transfer portal. So Matt Rhule's already said early on in the process, he's going to go over quality over quantity. You see a lot of programs like Colorado, Texas A&M getting 20-plus guys. Matt Rhule's not been that way. He's got only 6 commits, 5 in the last week. And real quick, we're going to break those down. Oregon running back Dante Dowdle. He got 2 wide receivers from the transfer portal, Isaiah Nair and Jamal Banks. He got Micah Mazuka, offensive line commit from Florida. And last but not least, linebacker transfer from Syracuse, Thompson. So again, these are guys who are plug-and-play type of players, guys who have a high ceiling NFL potentials, rather than being a risky addition that, like we saw with Scott Frost, where he basically just add guys to the roster who he felt like could be contributors in maybe a year or two. No, Matt Rhule's saying, hey, I know where this roster is. I'm going to get guys who are instant starters, and he's done the job so far. But with that being said, there's still a lot of holes on this team. So let's break it down real quick. The first storyline, and we've seen it throughout the last week, Alabama, right? Nick Saban retiring, Kalen DeBoer being announced as their next head coach. There's going to be a ripple effect around college football, especially when it comes to the transfer portal. We look at the roster already. They had Isaiah Bond, their best wide receiver, already enter the portal, right? And by no means am I saying we're going to get Isaiah Bond, but there's going to be a lot more that follow him. We're talking about talented tight ends, talented O-linemen, talented running backs, talented linebackers. So Nebraska really needs to pounce on 1 or 2 of these guys and keep their eyes open. I think a lot of times Nebraska fans look at their roster and say, oh, we don't need a cornerback. We already have plenty of them. And we think our roster's a lot better than they are. But we compare that to other rosters around the league and we say, okay, we don't have anything. So absolutely, we need to keep adding on players. And I know a lot of people might say, oh, Wilson, we're already over the scholarship limit. You figure that out in the spring. Right now, you just add names, add bodies, let them fight for the job, and then you can worry about scholarships later. Just keep adding talent. So definitely got to keep an eye on Alabama and Washington. There's a lot of talented players who are going to enter the portal. We already saw Will Rogers enter the portal, who originally committed to Washington from Mississippi State. Now we entered it again. So that's a guy to keep your name on or keep your eye on. And that brings me to my second point, the quarterback discussion. We need a veteran quarterback transfer. And real quick, before I get any further, Delora will be Nebraska's quarterback 1 in 2024. No doubt about it. However, I feel some sort of way about basically just giving him the job. When was the last time in college football that you can remember at a Power 5 school that a true freshman was handed the keys without a quarterback battle? Never. That has never happened. At least not in the last 10 years in a competitive program. And I get it. Delora is a borderline generational recruit, but you need somebody to give him a battle, because it's that battle that really develops him as a player and makes him what he is, right? If you don't have that in a young quarterback, he basically feels like, oh, I run the show already. And that really lapses Nebraska from a lot of those early lessons that he could have learned. And one thing I'm going to say is that it is hard to find a veteran backup quarterback that can really teach Delora, right? You see this all the time in the NFL, where they just have backups who are 35, 36 years old, who are basically glorified coaches. It's hard to find that in college football, but they do come around every now and then. I will say this: Nebraska fumbled the bag when it came to Casey Thompson. Casey Thompson was in Lincoln about a week or 2 ago and met with Matt Rhule about potentially rejoining the roster, and Matt Rhule basically shut it down. Casey Thompson wanted to be a backup, and they just couldn't find common ground. And Casey Thompson would have been ideal. This is a guy who's going into his 7th year of college football. He's been through it. He's been at a Power 5 program. He's been in basically group of 5 play as well, FAU. He's went through injuries. He would be a great mentor for Delora, and he's looking to go into coaching. But instead, Matt Rhule shut it down, didn't want any part of it, and now we just found out that Casey Thompson is going to have that exact same role with Oklahoma. He's going to be their backup quarterback and basically going to peruse over Jackson Arnold, who's going to be their quarterback 1 next year. So I think we really missed out on Casey Thompson. Again, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know, that we don't know, that hasn't come out about that. but it looks like Casey Thompson wanted to come back and we didn't get him, right? There's other fish in the sea. We saw with Spencer Sanders, he went over to Ole Miss after being the starting quarterback at Oklahoma State forever and was their backup quarterback last year to basically teach Jackson Dart and be a glorified coach. So these guys do exist. They're just hard to come by. A guy that I'm looking for in the portal goes by the name of Jaden Delora, who was the Arizona starting quarterback for a while, entered the portal about a month ago, has still yet to find a home. That's a guy where I think Matt Rhule should give a call and say, hey, right, you're not going to be the quarterback one, but I want you to fight for the job, and if you don't get it, I want you to be a great teammate and a great mentor for a young quarterback. So that's something to watch for. I really, really need another quarterback in that room. And I know some people are going to come in my comment section and say, Wilson, there's going to be a quarterback battle. Heinrich Haarberg's there. No, Heinrich Haarberg, I love him to death. I think he's a great guy. I think he likes Nebraska football. He wants to do whatever it takes for this program. He's just not a competent quarterback in Power 5 football. I would say not even a competent quarterback in FBS football. I do not want him as our first or second string. Again, I think there's a spot for him on this roster as an athlete, as a running back, as a wide receiver, maybe as a tight end, right? We know from last year he should not probably be a quarterback for us ever again. So, yes, he's not going to give Dylan Rhule any pointers. He's not going to give Dylan Rhule just any mentorship because he's not a good quarterback, guys, and he's not going to give him a real battle. So, yes, we need a real, true veteran quarterback in that room and potentially to play quarterback for us because, as we know from the last couple of years, our quarterback ones historically get injured at a very high rate. I cannot tell you the last time we've went through a season with the same quarterback the entire year. Cannot tell you. So, yes, there is a high probability that Dylan Rhule will probably get banged up and we'll see the backup next year. So I would prefer if it's a guy who's been through the mud a couple times and knows what to do rather than a Heinrich Haarberg who we know is not a great quarterback. So that's the first point with the quarterback discussion. Now we get to the O-line and D-line. Got to keep your eyes peeled for some more guys. I know we added Micah Mazuka on this O-line, and it's a decent O-line unit, but it needs to be better. Again, just keep adding bodies, add experience. We're getting to a point where the starting five of that O-line is actually looking pretty solid, right? Still not a top 30 unit, but it's looking very competent and very, has a lot of potential. I will say this, however. For the longest time, we talked about this O-line as being super young. Now it's looking super old. You see Bryce Benhart as a senior, Turner Corcoran as a senior, Ben Scott, who's coming back as a senior, right? You just keep going on. So, I don't even know if Ben Scott's coming back. I assume he is. But if he's not, that adds another hole for the O-line. That just proves my point even further. So, again, got to keep adding guys on this O-line. Again, Micah Mazuka is a really good start. Add some pieces who have had experience and can provide you depth. We've seen this time and time again with Nebraska where you have a decent starting five, and then you get banged up like we've seen with Teddy Prohaska, gets banged up, and then the O-line goes to crap because you have no good depth. You don't have a swing tackle on the bench. You have a bunch of true freshmen like Sam Sledge, Henry Letufsky, guys who just have never played before. So just keep adding transfers. And the same goes with this D-line. This D-line is actually a really good starting unit. But we have only signed one D lineman in 2024 and not many in 2023 in classes, for example. Okay, we don't have a lot of young talent coming in that room. You need to start adding those guys in the transfer portal, add experience. We swung and we missed on Elijah Judy. That's fine. That's a guy I would not be mad if we moved on from. Got to take another hit, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Go for another guy in the transfer portal. See if you can add a productive player. You need an edge rusher. I'll say that interior is looking very good with Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmucker, but you need an edge rusher, and you do not have that right now. I will say this. It's looking very good with Cameron Lenhart and Prince Manuel, true freshmen from last year. Those guys are looking good. You just need more depth in that room, especially for when Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmucker end up graduating, right? So just keep adding guys, keep adding talent. That's what you need to do on this pipeline. That's how Nebraska's going to get back. So definitely look out for the quarterback room. Definitely look out for the O-line, D-line. As for players to watch, again, I already dropped Jaden Delora. There's not many more. Matt Rhule's been pretty silent about it. I will say this. We've seen a lot of rumors fly around in the Scott Frost era. There's not many with Matt Rhule. He runs a very tight ship. We haven't really heard any rumors about guys we're going after, but I'd imagine they go after one or two guys, and then we're in for a big spring practice session where basically a lot of guys are going to get cut from the team because you're over scholarship. So a lot of incentives are going to be made. Hey, if you reach this level of performance, you're going to stay on scholarship, and if you don't meet it, sorry, you can go try your luck with another program. So, of course, we'll have updates on that as it goes on, but enjoy your Saturday, everybody. Let me know what you think down below. What should Nebraska target in the transfer portal? Should Nebraska even target anybody? Are we done? Let me know down below, but as always, folks, go Big Red, go Matt Rhule, and see you in the next one.